Hey everyone, welcome back. Today, I wanted to share some thoughts from a recent conversation I had that I think just really interesting stuff going on, that it's the combination of a couple things that are very unusual to the state of Florida that add a lot of value that you just don't see as commonplace. And it's a great example to illustrate it. So there's a new community that is being built in the Sarasota General Metro. It is very south in the county, so it's like southern Venice, Florida, basically, in a master plan area. And it has just like a surprising proximity that is walkable to what's gonna be like an incredibly state-of-the-art school. And it looks like we have 1,500 plus developments in the state of Florida. It looks like a lot have these things, but when you get granular, whether it's your criteria or it's the mix of like what might work, it's not a lot. There's not 5 options in these kind of things. And then it mixes it with pricing that's just at a crazy discount that I'm not sure it'll maintain that way for a long period of time. So the same builder, building 2 communities that are one's just west of it, one's just northwest of it. You can grab the same floor plan, and they're all actively building right now, and save $150,000 to $200,000 a base floor plan in this new community. So when you take that, you take the school proximity, you take the master plan environment. I don't know how often you're going to be able to replicate this in the future, and we're seeing a lot of this kind of stuff happen with education options in what is already the number 1 or 2 ranked public school district in the state. So I hope you enjoy my take. We're going to walk through all of that, get deep, and even if you don't pick this one, it's a great learning experience. So without further ado, let's hop in. I had a conversation the other day, and I thought there was a couple things interesting. There's a community called Lakespur. You take the state of Florida, you say, okay, I'm just looking Southwest Florida. You're basically Tampa Bay greater, Sarasota, Manatee greater, and then Fort Myers, Naples. The rest just falls off into the water. There's nothing really meaningful above Tampa. Everything else is on the Atlantic coast or the Panhandle. So if we say, all right, I'm focused on Sarasota, most central, it's really interesting. I think potentially the best mousetrap in the state from like proximity and just value. Well, the main Sarasota stuff was kind of up here, downtown Sarasota, Lido Key, Siesta Key, that kind of thing. If you go below that, there's a few cities that are in Sarasota County, but below Sarasota city limits. It goes Osprey, Nokomis, and then Venice, and then Englewood, and it kind of ends there. So this community is located down here. It's basically down this area right here, in a new master plan area called Wellen Park. The benefit of the master plan, which Southwest Florida has like a weirdly high density for, is that it doesn't make the neighborhood as contingent on it being good or bad. It matters a lot, obviously. Your house matters within that neighborhood, but you can do new construction without being in a silo. So multiple people could live in multiple places in close proximity to the same communal amenities. Even if you don't if you're not super social and you're not in it really for that, there's a lot of perks to having basically a built-in town. Everything's new. The community is somewhat insulated, schools, all that kind of stuff, which we're going to talk about in a minute. That is what this is. They do a really great job with their internet presence, as you can see here. And their map kind of looks like this right here. It's actually kind of a cool map. So that is that zoom in here. So if I'm cascading from downtown Venice this way, that's what you see here. That's what we're picking up. The community I want to focus on is called Lakespur, because you're going to come to any of these areas, let alone looking at the whole metro of all your new construction options. You're going to eventually just narrow. And it's going to be 2 things that are going to be the main domino typically in the search. It's going to be lifestyle first. So you could end up in this Venice area because you didn't want to be in the thick of it, potentially. Like maybe you were like, I want to be a little bit more laid back. I still want to be coastal, but I don't need all the Sarasota stuff. So, what would you recommend if I wanted to do that? One of my natural things I would say is Venice. Venice historically has been junior Sarasota. Because it's 45 minutes south of that stuff, it generally is a little bit more laid back. It's a little bit more affordable in perspective because people do view it slightly as a junior. And so its evolution created that. That could be one reason. The other reason, which isn't as abundant in Florida as other states, is school. Obviously, I know when I relocated, I have an 8-year-old and a 3-year-old. It was basically a full-time job, it felt like, for my wife to figure out what to do with the schools. It's so difficult, especially with multiple children, to feel good about it if you're from out of state. Let alone you have a high schooler or something, you're trying to relocate someone in 10th grade or something. If you've ever dealt with that, I'm sure you'd be very empathetic to that point. It's one of those 2 things that's going to basically allow you to say, well, I'm actually not looking at 100 neighborhoods, I'm looking at 3 or 4. Because then you got to add price, you got to add style. Is it resale and new? So you will eventually narrow down there. And that's what makes okay, I have all of Sarasota, but I'm looking at Wellen because I ended up in this area. Now within Wellen, there's 2 districts. There's the Playmore, which is the new sexy one you're looking at mainly here. And there's the Old West Villages district, which is a lot of this stuff. And you're okay, well, how do I pick between these 12 neighborhoods? Well, realistically, you don't have 12 neighborhoods in play. They're not the same prices. There's some active adult restricted stuff. There is some turnkey golf stuff. And so you whittle, a lot of word salad to get to this point. But this is where the value gets really created, because a lot of this stuff is so much simpler if you can go about it in the right order. In that vein, if you've worked all the way through this, then this video makes way more sense. Because as you zoom in here, they're building a new school right here, Wellen Park High School, I believe. And so this is it's gonna be pretty nice, because right now, like if you go, the senior high school of Venice is on the island, which is really cool. I mean, you can walk to the beach from the high school, which is pretty, and it's a big high school. It's not like a little boutique Christian school or something. But like, it's basically you're at the mercy of like just a couple schools, and they're building 14 neighborhoods that didn't exist, and all these new people coming in, this kind of thing. So this is gonna add a real nice layer. And the cool thing about building a new school system within an area that is basically got created from scratch, more or less, with shades of gray, even if it's a public school, it's pretty much servicing those neighborhoods. So to think, if you're relocating, the chance that every other kid in that school is also in a very similar lifestyle situation as you, as far as like timing, because all these neighborhoods are less than 5 years old. I think that's kind of cool. So like all the kids' friends, everything, that whole community will be built in. The sports, everything will exist in that little ecosystem. And then it's new, right? So it's state of the art, and 325,000 square feet. The sports complexes are gonna be unbelievable. The STEM systems now are pretty crazy. This one is gonna start at high school, and there's room on the campus for a K-8, so you'll go K-12 at some point. All that to say, when you actually look at it, there is about 3 neighborhoods I think you could technically, depending on who you are and what you think is long and not, walk to from those neighborhoods to this school. It looks like all of them, but there's a difference between a short drive and not having to get out of your car at all. I do think as they continue to build this stuff out, there's not a lot of walkability in Florida, and it's pretty rare. So I wanted to mention that, and the reason that I'm talking about Lakespur, not all 3, is Everly is a custom build only neighborhood, so that's either for you, it's not, but your minimum price point there is probably over $1 million. The median's probably 1.5 or higher, something like that. You could see how that's not gonna work for every person. Brightmoor, this other one that hugs it, is a 55 and up age restricted community by Mattamy. So you kind of have this one that sits really, really close. So the proximity in a sea of neighborhoods that don't have the exact same proximity, I really like. But this is all about stacking multiple things that create the value to me. Proximity alone, I don't think is enough, because none of these neighborhoods are gonna be perfect. Oh, and by the way, if you're enjoying today's content at all, check out the first link in the description box below. I think one of the best things we put out is a bi-monthly email report every 14 days. This is gonna have our favorite quick move-in, pre-permanent new construction homes that you can move in quicker to every month. This will have our favorite new construction incentives, discounts, anything interesting they have going on right now. If you're looking at this neighborhood, you should also look at these, which I find very helpful. And then basically just a brain dump of everything else that's going on in our minds. Like I said, every 14 days, the link in the description box below, the very first one you see, is the best way to get to that. And let's go back in. The second element of that kind of value stack is price. And this is where it gets really interesting, especially in this kind of market. This is a 3-builder neighborhood. Lakespur is Pulte, Lennar, and Mattamy, but it's not a 3-builder availability situation right now. Lennar is basically done. They're a hyper affordable builder as well, but I think they have 2 quick move-ins and then they're done. Mattamy's not building single family homes. So it's a Pulte game or nothing if you want a single family home right now. They build a lot around the area, but they build actually very close to this neighborhood as well. Great way to learn is look at the same builder, what they're pricing the same model in multiple neighborhoods that are actively building at the same time, because they'll tell you kind of the value of what they think of the different areas, and then you can draw your own conclusions and maybe benefit because you're doing that. So that's what I want to kind of show you here, because it's pretty enlightening. So the Mystique, that's like their model at this neighborhood. That'll be a garage, but the Mystique's priced at $423,990. This is something that most likely will be around 2,000 square feet or slightly under. So that is in our Lakespur community. So if we go to another one, this one is a stone's throw. This is built by DeVosta. DeVosta is a company owned by Pulte. It's interesting, it's 2.5 miles one way to the beach, but it is adjacent to this area. It's right here. Well, look at this, 527, the exact same model, exact same square footage, just right there. Well, let's do another one. Let's look at the Prestige, which I believe here is too. 448 in Lakespur, our neighborhood of focus today, 565 there. You kind of get the point. You start making them bigger. They'll add layers of square footage to a base lower floor plan. You have the Mystique, you have the Mystique Grand. You see Toll Brothers do similar. 576 at Lakespur. And then, so if you have a family, you can get over 3,000 square feet. Here you can get 5 bedrooms. If you have 2, 3 kids, you know, not every Florida style house works. And then the Mystique Grand here, 653 versus 576. I mean, this is the difference between like 500 extra square feet in a house that you couldn't afford. This is the difference between a pool. There's another sister called Talon Preserve, which is Beach Walk by Minnesota Key, but just north of it. It's in Nokomis, Florida. So basically, in Venice, you can live below the island or above it. but you can have similar proximity to the same island. But if you're above it here, then you have the sense that maybe you didn't lose Sarasota as much. If you're below it here, you gain new construction, but you lose a little Sarasota. That's kind of the idea. But Nokomis sits right here. It gets even crazier if you look at that. So if we look at those same models we just reviewed real quick, there's our Mystique again. So Mystique here is 579, and the regular Mystique in Lake Spur is 423. So you're talking over $100,000 the same floor plan. The Prestige 611 there, 448. Builders will price things cheaper in Parish than Lakewood Ranch, these kind of things. But this grossly at the same timeline of towns that I don't think people view that different. I don't know if most people would say Nokomis blows Wellen Park away. I just think it's a really interesting timing of being opportunistic in a buyer leverage market with that kind of school proximity at the very, very, very least. Just imagine what that resale market's gonna be. If they're selling the same model and all the comps around the area for the exact same model in slightly different locations are $100,000 more expensive. This is a market where people are getting in, these really family nice style houses with pools at move-in, with financing incentives and all these kind of things under $600K, which is not your typical Sarasota situation. That's number two. Number three, let me sneak in a little bit of cool road pattern stuff that creates even more beach proximity. So if you're in Wellen Park right now, you're basically less than 18 minutes to 4 separate beaches, because there's 3 beaches in this area. There's Venice Beach, Casperson is like Shark's Tooth capital of the world in a lot of people's eyes, and then Brohard Beach, and then Nokomis Beach is like a bonus. And then because you're so far low, you have Manasota Key Beach as well, which is what you're really parallel to here. So you already have that. By just being in this part of the state, look how hard it is to get far from the water, just because it's so narrow. Just going south means coast. If you like that coast, it's not coast for coast's sake. But what they're also doing for the Wellen thing, Lake Spur has another benefit of it doesn't just sit near that school, it sits on the edge of this road river. Like some of these are gonna have to cut, they're in the middle, so they have like nice proximity to the downtown and the ball field, but they're gonna have to like basically like shoot one direction to get out and cross the other neighborhoods. This one kind of, and you can view it as a positive or a negative, but this one it doesn't. It's right on river, so you just go right here. But they're also carving another way to get over there. So this road right here stops, it's not going to anymore. So they're gonna go like 2 miles over here and kind of enter in here. So you'll be able to go straight to the beach from there as well. So I just think over time, the options that it's opening up, it's pretty incredible. If you added all that together, you could get in there and be like, okay, well, I like the idea of it, but maybe Pulte is not your favorite builder. Maybe the floor plan just doesn't quite work ideally. And you're looking at all those things. So you're looking at what else you could do. And the other ones close by are like so binary, going this at 550 versus 1.3 million, it kind of makes the decision a little bit for you. But you could say, okay, well, I give this, but I gain this. And that's what everyone's doing, because nothing's ideal. Even if you had all the money in the world, it's just nothing is going to be there. So you're trying to hedge your bets about what's going to happen in the future. And then they have a lovely downtown here. There's like a 2-mile lake, a bunch of stores. They're kind of building everything but the beach. So you can go to the town, like the actual downtown of a town. You don't need to any longer. All right, so I hope you guys found some value in that. I think more than anything, using these greater concepts to navigate your search is just a fantastic way to go. Just the way that you can kind of categorize information. And if what I just described doesn't work, but you try to replicate it in other areas, then you really can start to get on top of this thing. It is a really interesting time versus any other time that since I've grew up in Sarasota, for being able to maybe do something similar in multiple parts of a town almost equally. And you couldn't have said that in the past, or where you could say, all right, I like that whole idea, drop it in central Sarasota instead of south, or drop it in northern Naples instead of Sarasota at all. And you could get dangerous with it with shades of gray. So right now, Sarasota County is already the #1 public school district in the state. I mean, a lot of prep schools in that area as well. But what they're doing is the new school thing to satiate all this new construction stuff is not just exclusive to Lake Spur. This video is about affordability combined with walkability. But if you wanted to say like, okay, I like it, but I don't want to be down that far south or whatever, another one you could look at is this school right here that just got built. It's called Sky Ranch School. And what this is gonna do is gonna allow you just to literally drop yourself in a different area. It's parallel to Siesta Key, where Sky Ranch is a neighborhood built by Taylor Morrison. There's like 3,000 something homes, super family friendly kind of outlay. It's gonna be a little bit more expensive than the community I just showed you, but it's not like $1 trillion for everything. So this is one of the neighborhoods of Sky Ranch, but you can see the proximity here. The lower Siesta Key Bridge is right here, Stickney Point. It looks further with all this green space than these areas actually are. This is where I grew up, right here. So it's 13 miles, but it just looks like, whenever I look at this map, and if I wasn't from here, I'd be like, this looks like abyss. But then you have to understand about Sarasota is it's so narrow. The whole metro, it's like really hard to get far. So even that's like opens up some options. So this new school just built K-8, which is going to give you, if you live anywhere around that area, you're in Artistry, you're in Grand Park, any of those kind of things, it's going to give you potentially a nice option for several years while also being in central Sarasota. And then if you keep kind of going it up, Lakewood Ranch is like the big dog in town. It's the #1 multi-generational master planning community that exists. And that basically is just going northeast. So basically what everybody does is they say, okay, am I going to be up here, come down to this town? Am I going to be in the middle, have kind of everything? Or am I going to go down to Venice and do that? That's how 99.9% of people tour the town, because then you can dot all your I's and you got everything. Lakewood Ranch is going to offer just more of everything, but also more confusing than everything at the same time. But also it's more convoluted because of the options, 50 plus neighborhoods. The oldest house was built in 1995. It's just all been the last 25 years. So if you look at this and you go this direction, the idea is northeast of downtown Sarasota here. These lakes as your kind of quick hitter, that's called Waterside. So this is the neighborhood map of Lakewood Ranch. They do actually a really fantastic job at outlaying their stuff. But you can see here, so the main school districts that were built originally are up here. Lakewood Ranch High School, Golet Elementary, Mona Middle, and a lot of these neighborhoods that wrapped it were like the 15-year-old version of what I'm describing today. Walkability, it was like super family friendly, a lot of community. Well, they mirrored that district over here, and there's always a lag of like the education system versus the people moving in. Ton of family friendly stuff over here, like Lorraine Lakes, really family friendly. Star Farms, even maybe more so. There's a new school called Lake Manatee that is built up there to satiate this. So this is going to give you another option. And so this is the pre-K to 5th is already happening. And then 6th through 8 is going to be next year. So you'll have a full school just for those neighborhoods. There's a new high school coming as well. That's going to be like completely state-of-the-art down here. And they're going to do kind of what they did. If you look at Parish Community High School, they're going to do a lag planning like that. But if you see, every one of these little flags are a different education of some sort. There's a Lakewood Ranch Elementary School that's supposed to be starting next year as well. I think that might be this one down here, but it could be over here as well. So just to kind of tie a bow on that, I think it's a conversation around optionality. Abundance never hurts a buyer. The art form is really just like, where do you start? And this is kind of the way I would go about it, is trying to like reverse engineer the ideal first domino, whether that's lifestyle, schools, maybe it's work, but not so much in this market. And then start to like kind of wrap a circle and dot around those things, and then get familiar with the builders and all that kind of stuff. And obviously we can help in between there. All right, folks, that's a wrap for today's video. I hope you enjoyed the content. If you did, please consider subscribing to the channel here if you haven't already done so. It's just the best way to see what's coming next. We have 2 to 3 videos every single week, most Sunday, Monday, Wednesdays, 4 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Eastern. I mentioned at the beginning, the description box below, the first link is our once every 14-day email report. It's one of the most real-time things that we put out. It's going to include our favorite new construction quick move-in homes that are pre-permitted. A lot of advantages there right now. Discounts, incentives, sellers and new construction builders. We have a this or that section, which, one of the first things you're going to want to know, or you're going to want to know at some point, if I'm looking at this, what else should I look at so I don't have regrets? We cover that. And then the rest of our insight within a 14-day loop of anything we're working on, new developments, anything interesting going on at all. That's the best way to see that. Of course, if we can assist you in the Southwest Florida real estate market at all, please consider reaching out as well. I own a boutique real estate brokerage. It's called the Sunshine State Company. And we just want to do things differently, so it's our brokerage does not exist separate at all than what we're doing here. It's an extension. So it's the validation, boots on the ground, physical presence when you arrive to town. So we upfront learn all this stuff, try to figure all this stuff out. When you visit town, this is the arm of that. And it works very succinctly. We find it to be one of the best ways that you could relocate by kind of that baton handoff. So, it goes a long way if you have a conversation early and hopefully often as well when you're doing all this research and you're out of state trying to figure all this thing out in a sea of information. Having one conversation could help kick the stone down the road way faster. And to not feel bad about, like, if I reach out to these people, like, I'm wasting their time because it's too early, or maybe a lot more, you're worried about getting harassed, you know? Like if you click, like, I want to look at this car, and then you get 400 text messages from a car dealership. We're not that. We're not the real estate version of that. That's not what I wanted to do. So please consider checking that out. I think you'll see that if you give us a chance, and we'd love to partner with you if it makes sense. And I think that basically covers it. We have some relocation guides on the website as well if you want to check those out, written word versions of the videos, things like that. Thank you guys so much for consuming my content. We'll see you on the next one.